All right, guys, welcome back, and let me get this TikTok stream going, man, because I'm about to cook today with this one, right? And today, obviously, I'm gonna get into Soldier Boy, right? Yeah, let's just do this, man. So, Soldier Boy to me is probably the most compelling character on the boys. Right. I mean, if we really start looking at, what they did and how they crafted this story, um, it's actually very clever, right? It's actually some pretty good structural storytelling, right? It has a lot of like great symbolism in the story, like the way they tell the story. You got to pay attention to some other levels of the story, which is why I'm here to catch this stuff, right? To watch this stuff in slow motion and to kind of get a stronger idea of like, what did that mean? What are they saying with that? And looking at this, what did that mean? Like looking at this story, it breaks down into generations pretty convincingly. And I'm going to explain it a little bit. And the generational, and I mean when I'm talking about generations, I'm talking about representations of the boomers, representations of Generation X, representation of Gen V, representations of millennials, right? This is Facebook too. Sorry. So that's essentially what I'm saying. Like, let's get into defining how all this plays into it, because obviously Soldier Boy is a huge part. He represents obviously a big part of boomers, right? Okay. And it's noteworthy. Right? All the characters are really strongly tied to their generational tribe, right? And we see this how it plays out. So when I start talking about Soldier Boy, you notice one of the first things I'm going to say is these goddamn boomers, right? And this is why I be saying these goddamn boomers, because they're off the hook in the stuff that they did. And Soldier Boy 100% represents that. And what I'm going to get to, and I'm going to do this in a whole different like segment so I can really get it to you guys on some levels that it needs to be broken down, because I think it'll add a little extra meaning to this. If you look at the structure of the boys, they handle generations all the way through it. They start with the boomers, and they work it all the way down to Generation V, or Gen Z, right? Current time. So you see that they're representing this group, the ones in college, right? The young cats coming up and doing their own thing now, right? The Ryans and the Zoes, their name's Zoes, right? I want to get her name right, and Marie's, right? That's them getting their time, getting their shine on, right? And they're still being controlled by the boomers, right? It's Stan Edgar in control of this stuff, right? It's still Vought Industries in the controls. Now, Homelander's kind of unique in this because he doesn't really represent a particular generation himself. Well, I guess he does. Like, that's a lie. Like, he came, like, so he would have been like, millennial. Yeah, man. So they're right, because he's kind of, I don't know if he's timeless because he wasn't in society. I don't know if he represents that stuff. Like, but we'll break this down. But we see these various, generational representations. Like I said, Stan Edgar at the top. Like, these are your like power brokers, the ones who run all this stuff. Like Madeline, still not Madeline, but the military woman, the one that got kicked out. Right, I can't remember what her name. The one who got killed by Ryan. She also represents that old group. In fact, all of them are boomers. Like, Soldier Boy comes from that generation. Like, all the first gen, the first 7 all come from that generation, right? Like, 100%, right? They come from that. That's who they are, okay? They're the boomers. And I'm going to explain why this is important. And I'm going to start off with Soldier Boy, and then I'm going to explain like why it matters in the story, right? Like I said, I'll probably break that out separately, but they give you some very strong like generation of like, yeah, this generation was doing this generation was doing that, and it's like locked in, right? And it's an interesting story because it has that kind of like weight to it, right? It has that gravity. Like when we're talking about what's old girl, Stormfront, like she represents a particular generation at a particular time. That's what her ideology is, and she represents it. When they brought Mr. Vought back, right, on Gen V, right, that's what he represented, was that generation. And so you can kind of break people out by like where they are in the story, right? Obviously, everything's not clear. I would say Butcher kind of represents Generation X. Like, yeah, he's kind of jacked up in the head. That's us because of them, right? It was his dad. Like his dad again was the boomer, and yeah, you know. So that's the hierarchy, and it makes more sense when we look at who Soldier Boy really is, right? Like this is key to kind of breaking down who Soldier Boy is, okay? So absolutely, guys, when I'm talking about this, I'm really going to get into it. All I'm asking...
Listen, and listen good. I'm talking to you.
That's right. I'm talking to you, man. Me and T are going to break this stuff down beyond scientific. Now, the interesting thing about Soldier Boy is he is not just this, like, you know, evil Captain America. He's not even that. Like, think about, because they set him up in a very Captain America way, but Marvel's Captain America was still really governed by like, I want to fight, like I believe in the righteousness, I want to fight the bullets. Like they build up a lot of righteousness in him that, you know, whether it's really true down the road, that's where Captain America is, like morally. Soldier Boy starts off completely different from that. He starts off with it insecure. He starts off with it, you know, trying to get validation, obsessed with this masculinity and being validated on those terms, emotionally abused by his father, right? So this is a trait that at Vought, when they see that, they're like, yeah, that guy right there, let's give him superpowers. And that's the thing. He's always trying to be a man in the eyes of this America. Again, okay? This boomer America, which is where he comes from. Now, remember, they are defined by what he represents, the time period. This is post-World War II. Patriotism is really high. The military is getting a lot of love. This is like the men don't cry era, right, of absolutism. So like this is what he's rooted in. He's 100% rooted in, you know, men don't cry. We smoke a lot of Marlboro cigarettes. That whole thing, right? And so for him, this approval, respect is core. He needs his approval. He needs to love his father, which he doesn't get, by the way. So you join the army to be this. So Compound V didn't really create him. It just like magnified him. It allowed him to satisfy all these insecurities, right, that he's had. And I'm not making any excuses for him. He's an asshole on so many different levels, right? But this is where it comes from. And we need to kind of understand what's going on with someone to really get like how they end up like this, right? Like what's going on. So this is where I wanted to get into it about understanding who this character was. And I even like, man, I grabbed some clips. I'm like, Soldier Boy's off the hook, man. Like this dude is like, and again, this is some more boomer stuff right here, okay? Listen to it.
If taking drugs is uncool, I'm the most uncool motherfucker on the planet.
See? Okay. I'm not lying to you guys. I'm going to pound into you guys how much these boomers were off the hook and how this actual series really highlights that. If you pay attention, you'll see who the most off the hook people in the series are, and it's always somebody who's a boomer. This is not by mistake, and this is not just me hating on boomers, okay? Remember, boomers are my mama and my dad and my aunts and uncles, all the people who came together to make us the least parented generation of all time, okay? So whenever you guys have something to say about anything about Generation X, remember, we were literally feral kids. We were literally feral kids, right? Like, we raised ourselves. We were outside all day. We were less in the house. We couldn't go in the house until the streetlights. Like, people are like, you better go home by the time those streetlights are out. No, you had to stay outside until the streetlights came on. That was actually the rule. Like, they flip it in revisionist history. Like, we would play so long, and so it was so great playing outside that we knew we had to be home when them street lights came on. No. You couldn't get into the house until the street lights came on. When they put us outside, you think about that, man. We couldn't even go inside the house to get some water, right? You wouldn't do that to your dog right now, man. I bet if you have a dog that you probably get water for your dog either at least from a filtered tap that you get from, right? Or you probably even give your dog bottled water, right? If you buy bottled water, if you have like water delivery or whatever it is, like you ain't giving your dog, hose water. You're not, okay? I know that. Because while you're drinking the nasty water, you're also getting all the hose stuff. These hoses were made out of like rubber, okay? Plastics and stuff like that, right? I live places where it will get triple digits like for weeks on end. So imagine that you drinking out of this hose, right? That is, I'm sure, giving up all kind of like particles and all kind of stuff that we're just drinking because it's hose water, and we already know it's supposed to taste suspect. They ain't care. Anyway, that's just my rant on who these dang boomers are, and like really get into why we have time. And this is why you get Soldier Boy. This is where toxic masculinity is really born in this military era, and you can see like who we see him represent. If you look at it in my graphic, because I keep my facts on deck, is like, yeah, he's kind of built in this Captain America. Like, this is what they're chasing, masculinity. This John Wayne type, who we know you're strong, but you're also ignorant, racist, and all that stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you wear masculinity, like you put it on, and really, like, you front it the whole time. So he is like, and again, not to just throw these boomers out there without giving them some, like their parents were even worse than that. Like the reason that boomers are jacked up in the way they are is that their parents, I mean, like I'm just saying, look at Soldier Boy's pops, man. Look at how they were, and like it was the same type of thing, right? And we'll talk about what that crazy generation did too. But this is where Soldier Boy is, right? He is the myth of this great American man that we were always chasing, coming out of this era, like this old school dominance. When they talk about making America great again, this is what we're talking about right here. He's the fantasy war hero. He was a fantasy war hero. Not that war heroes are a fantasy themselves, but he didn't even do none of this stuff. He didn't storm Normandy. I think he said he like stormed one of the beaches or whatever. He didn't even do that, right? Like that's actually a lie. So you're like, you're the action movie alpha, the guy who says like, oh, these kids today are soft. Y'all are soft, and that's not a bad thing. Like you guys are soft compared to just a couple of generations ago. You guys probably have never even drank water that came out of the water hose. I'm sure you haven't. That alone makes you internally softer than all of us. Okay, and we're dealing with it right now. So this guy kind of shows us through Soldier Boy. We see how broken of a character he actually is. But this system insulates him for all that. It insulates him from being morally kind of broken, insulates him from being selfish, and it's all done by these institutions that prop him up as if he were a hero. And this becomes a problem because you give power to absolutely the damn wrong people. And if you give him all this stuff, he turns into a bomb, literally. And that's what we saw him turn into. And that's the crazy thing, like, when you see this character initially, like, yeah, he's kind of funny, right? Whatever. He's, decent looking guy and all that. And it takes a little while before you start getting these, right? I remember like these, right? You start getting these, right?
What'd you say?
Like, where he's like, you didn't say nothing. Remember, he just like out bugging out. Like, he starts to say all kinds of crazy shit. Like, we start seeing him early on, right?
Lay off the weed, huh?
And you might want to gargle my ball sack.
Like, we get him. We start getting Soldier Boy instantly as being extremely, extremely off the hook. Like, he'll slap people with no issues. He has no problem killing anybody. Like, he doesn't, like, nothing, right? Nothing. So, this is what kind of, like, defines how this is. And what they did with him is like a lot of old weapons. Like, they were developing something new or better. And once that came, they didn't care about you, man. Like, you were war bomb posters, like Steve Rogers was. That's who you essentially were. You're these Reagan era, like, action heroes. this was the whole energy. And then it's ironic that, of course, he was a target of the Soviets, right? Like, it's not lost that generationally, Soldier Boy would get, all those years being experimented on by the Soviets, which is kind of like a little bit of lazy writing, because what they get out of it? Like, you guys broke in there and got him out just like that. This incredible weapon, right? Maybe that was their insurance. No, it was Soldier Boy, but they certainly did that. How they developed that one, I'm not even quite sure. So this is where he is, and this is who he represents, and this is like this masculinity. So when you see him and Homelander together, right? The level of toxicity that exists, like, they're both emotionally infants, blessed with incredible godlike power, but they're infantile mentally. They are narcissistic. They are both raised by corporations. Homelander sees Soldier Boy as his authenticity. Like, you're what masculinity looks like. That's how he actually looks at Soldier Boy and this father figure. And your father figure doesn't even want you, and he's a terrible father figure. Even your grandfather was terrible. You guys have a whole line of being terrible fathers in this family, right? Like, that's the real one. So Soldier Boy is just able enough to function in society, barely. He's the degree at which he self-medicates. Like, come on, man. Like, even like when he's chasing chicks, all that stuff is absolutely performative as well. He has superpowers, so it's 100% performative, but it makes him feel better. But it romances itself. It idealizes like this particular type of character, and so all that is representing, again, boomer mythology. This is generational mythology. He was frozen, out of time. All that is relevant. Grandpa, go back to your time period, okay? It was cool when you had it. Now we don't really want you anymore. So he represents the boomer. If we see, like I said, Butcher represents Generation X. My generation's jacked up generation. Clearly, Huey is millennial, like the age. He's right there. Him, Starlight. They're all that, right? Where Starlight's clearly millennial and Stormfront was clearly boomer, right? That's not a question mark at all. We see how much it's the boomers primarily fighting against the young generation. Like, that's along the lines. Homelander's side, Homelander's kind of like out of time. He's a weird kind of character, but he doesn't. Because Homelander still, like, if we make the closest parallels in real life to Homelander, clearly the series, like, they're mimicking stuff that Trump does, clearly. And Trump, again, would be boomer. So I don't know how to really quantify Homelander in that regard, while the other characters kind of line up pretty neatly. So, and this is the thing about Soldier Boy. This is the important thing I want you guys to take away from Soldier Boy, is that he's actually not just evil, right? Like, he is evil. Man, see, there's a way to quantify his evil, and I don't have a quite word that I would want to use. I can't find the word that really encapsulates what it is, because it's something different. It's just a different kind of evil, not the evil that I would soften in any way, but it's such a ignorance. Like, you're so ignorant and flawed and broken, and everything you do is fake. And like, so emotionally, he stopped evolving. He's, never understood or had real intimacy, right? Everything about him is a joke, like, kind of like your performance. And his powers aren't random. He embodies this old system that will not die. Literally, he's completely immortal. I think there's only a few of them left. He's one of the few immortals walking around the planet. He's all this emotional, like, suppression. He's Cold War. Damn, like, this is all he is. He's violence, just like, he handles everything, violence and punching people in the face. And that's what they do, right? That's what this generation does. Like, I'm telling you guys, not only when we talk about Generation X being the most, what we say, least parented generation, like, they call X, feral kids. That's our other title. is we were the last feral kids, right? But when our boomer parents were around, they would punch you in the face if you said something crazy. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, they're not joking, right? They would punch you in the face if you said something wrong. And I'm going to show you someone else who's also a boomer generation. And just so you guys understand what it's like growing up around them, right? This is who they are.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Okay, now I play that, and you guys are like, why is he playing Rick James, right? In this segment? Because then we go get right on into Soulja Boy, right? Where are you at? Where is this clip at with Soulja Boy, man? I got you right here. Because we talk about Rick James, and then we see, yeah, okay, that's him snorting coke right there. And I'm just pressing upon you, like, this is what they do. And you know what? I gotta find this dude here, man. This is clearly the whole. This is the generation defining guy here. If I can get it right, this is it right here, right? Boys. Come on. All right. What I'm saying all right, like I got it already. All right, I'm gonna grab it here. Hang on a second. Because this guy, like, really lets you know who we're talking about, who was the guys who really powering all this stuff and acting stupid and having all these what do they call orgies and stuff like that. I don't even know the right word because we never had that stuff, right? Boomers did. These guys were also the kings of orgies. That's why they have Herogasm is in there because these guys used to be doing that stuff, right? We know that. There's no other generation that was having orgies like these guys. It was like I was going to say, it's like they were going out of style. They thought they were going out of style. And clearly they did. They clearly thought that they were going to go out of style. And they did eventually go out of style because then, STDs and stuff start really popping up. That's another thing we don't talk about, that like all the conditions when STDs really started exploding, right? That's another thing. And so when you see this character, right, someone who's important in his story is obviously this Paul Reiser character, right? And this guy, of course, is the legend. And the reason that they call him a legend is because he was connected to everything. He really represents that boomer generation in Hollywood. And this is a generation that really took Hollywood in this really weird direction. Like, Hollywood was a different place prior to the boomers getting in there. And they set the tone for kind of what it is now. Like those old power structures, it was these guys who were setting it up. So when we see Soulja Boy interacting with this, like, this is telling you about like who he comes from. All these guys did coke all the time. All these guys were heavily into coke. And you know how I know? Go back and listen to the stuff they say. When they talk about their generation, right? When they talk about it, like,
they be like, used to eat for breakfast? Cocaine.
Exactly.
You know what I used to eat for lunch? Cocaine.
You see what I'm saying? That's the boomers telling you exactly what. And so then when we see Soulja Boy and he's just like got his head like plowed into it, right? Yeah. We understand what they're talking about, right? It's a reason that it's that generation and that person doing it, like the Quaaludes, right? Ain't nobody doing Quaaludes. So this is him kind of really telling us where he comes from. This generation was super freaking medicated, man. These guys did a lot of drugs, and then they'd be the same one to put the stop drug wars, the war on drugs and all that stuff. That was also them that did that. Isn't it ironic? Once they start getting old and stop doing it, then they voted in all the laws to get you guys arrested for weed. Yeah, they did that to us, man. Like, we were the first ones to suffer the wrath of the getting arrested for weed, right? Our parents' generation were the ones who started enacting the laws of weed to get us arrested. Because we shifted. Like I said, that boomer, like, obviously, some drugs never die out, like coke never goes away. But it ain't really mainstream like that, right? Like, for them, it was a lot more mainstream. And I think they resented that, like, generationally, we were shifting into weed. And they didn't understand or like weed. So they started like, yeah, that's legal. So it was them. It's the irony of it. But that's what this generation, like, that's the Paul Reiser contribution. Like, this is old Hollywood. He knows everybody. Like, everybody knows him. Like, they be getting it in nonstop, right? So this is where Soulja Boy's coming from. So if we add all this up, like, generationally who he is, like, what kind of support does he get, right? Or does it? Now here's the thing. The actor Jensen Ackles, and I know this is looking at the fourth wall right now, But this guy does a brilliant way of like merging all these things in there, right? Because here's the thing, like when Soulja Boy says some off the hook shit, he ain't even trying to offend you. He's really not. When he's like, yeah, I was banging such and she had a fur like a Pomeranian, he ain't even really trying to offend you. He's trying to just tell you what's up. He's actually like, in his world, right? They give him these charming, like, you know, obviously, right? They get the actor who really pulls it out, so he can have moments where he's, you know, just off the hook, right? Like I'm blurting it out. I could snap and be violent at any moment, and we all know it, right? Then he has some really honest moments, like when he talks about his pops with Butcher. This is an exchange he has with Butcher, talking about their abusive pops, right? Which you got to think about what that means between two men. Two men that are talking about like their damaged childhoods. That's not a light moment. That's not a levity moment. Like, and that's different because men don't typically relate on levels like that, right? You know, in this setting. So you get a lot of emotional realism out of them, like in those breaks, in those moments, you get a lot of like emotional reality from this character. So that's always kind of what it is. And it's like I said, like this guy is so representative of the boomer generation. Like he's ID. This is it. Like, you know, he nailed it. They wrote it for that. That's what he was supposed to represent. And he 100% hit on the mark, man. So, like I said, I'm going to dig into some more of these characters because obviously we're getting down to it. And this is an opportunity to kind of just like have at it with, you know, Soulja Boy. I don't think Soulja Boy's gotten enough attention, at least not in the understanding. I don't know if there's been a lot of commentary. And I think if you really focus on him and that whole relationship with Stormfront, like their foundation tells you a lot. Who you see on the screen tells you a lot. There's almost not a lot of Generation X representation on that show relative to the boomers and then the Gen V or Gen Z. So that's a, you know, it's still a cool story. You know, we definitely getting to see it and to watch it. And, you know, so really, like, I'm rooting for Starlight's generation. I'm not going to lie, man. I'm rooting for, you know, y'all millennials come through, man. Huey, I really am. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm going to take a break, and then man. Yeah, I kind of want to take a break and then come back, you know, reset, and then talk about this, like, generational, like, structure that they have. Because I think it's compelling, and it kind of represents, like, a lot of different aspects that we kind of really, really want to get into. Like, just understanding the story. Like, from this character, I think having an insight, because that's the thing. If you're a millennial, you probably don't even know what boomers were like when they were young. So it's our responsibility to tell you how off the hook these people were, man. Like, I know you probably know them as grandpa or maybe even great grandpa, pop, whatever you call these guys right now, right? Leave them alone, by the way. I'm telling you, like, these are some of the guys that you do not want to run up on. Like, my grandpops and them, man, you better leave them alone until they get really, really sick, right? Because they already know, like, they already been through some stuff, man. Most of our grandfathers have seen war. Like, that's the truth. Like, most of our grandfathers have seen some kind of war conflict. Like, I remember my homie's uncle, man, this dude that went to Nam, and, like, all respect to the soldiers who went out there, man. But, like, he was back. This is decades later. There was still shit you couldn't do around him. There were still smells that would trigger him. Like, the smell of burning hair would trigger him off. I was there. I seen it with my own eyes. You know how the girls be, like, burning the braids? I don't know why, but apparently that's a thing. I guess it's with fake hair. I don't know. Anyway, she's burning these braids, and the smell, like, you could see, like, the look in his eyes where he was like, I'm back there, you know? So we got to understand this stuff, and that's why we get guys like, you know, Soulja Boy, right? Like, you know, he's this neoliberal boomer. Like, you know, the racism from them was just like casual. They're like, yeah, whatever. This is just what it is right now. So all those aspects to him, man, I just found it to be really compelling. I wanted to kind of like just obviously dig into him a little bit more. So I'll be back. I'm going to take a break, you know, kind of chill out a little bit. But I'm going to come back later on. Oh, I got a couple things I got to do yet. So I'm going to come back later, and I'm gonna dig deeper into, like, the generational hierarchy that we're seeing on display. But in the meantime, in between time, if you want this infographic, like you ever want to use for anything, like, I'm going to drop it into the community post here, right? Like the post section on this channel. And then if you want to go, it's got my social up there too, I think. you can go to my social, and I'll have it uploaded there. So if you follow me there, or if you're, you want to pick it up here on YouTube, that'll be the easiest thing. So I don't have a way of sharing it on TikTok, but you can also go to my social. So I'll leave links to it, but I'll be back so we can just kind of get into like I said, man, like Soulja Boy, man, he's only like the tip of this iceberg, man. He's an important dissection, but watch as I start to slice these layers up, man. It's going to get really, really interesting.